Discarded crisp packets and plastic bags are what a pair of swans in Portsmouth have used to build their nest. This is just one example of how the environment is impacted by littering. With me now in the studio is Louise MacCallum from the Langstone Harbour Board. So welcome, Louise. So in terms of littering, what impact can it have to our wildlife?
Littering can cause lots of problems for wild animals and plants, actually. Particularly, they can become entangled in pieces of litter, and more seriously, they can also swallow pieces of litter, which can cause damage to their organs and blockages in their organs and lead to starvation. So littering is a very serious problem in the marine environment, particularly where litter can vanish from sight. Really, the marine environment is quite mysterious, it's quite difficult to see into, but litter there can cause very serious problems for animals and plants.
Because especially for swans, I think, in this particular case that we've talked about, they built a nest, so you think, okay, that's not too bad, perhaps that's fine. But if they get their necks caught around it, their feet entangled in it, that can be quite dangerous.
It could, absolutely, and swans are very robust, large birds, but the nest that was in Portsmouth Harbour was just a window, really, into what the state of our marine environment currently is. So swans build their nests, the female swan will build the nest and the male swan will go and collect materials for the nest, and in more natural circumstances he'd collect things like reeds and grasses and twigs and take them to the female and she'd build a nest. But in circumstances like we found here, the most available materials were plastic waste products which had been either accidentally or purposefully discarded into the sea. So to see that nest with polystyrene caps and plastic sheeting and food wrappers, is definitely a window into
it's quite a worrying thing then.
Absolutely, absolutely. And aside from the impacts on wildlife, I'm very passionate about wildlife conservation, and so that's the first thing I think about. But marine litter also has economic impacts. It also has impacts on tourism. So it's a huge problem, and not just in this region, but globally, marine litter is a very large problem, particularly plastics.
So what is the real problem with plastics? Is it that they don't break down into the environment and they're stuck with what they are?
Exactly right. So plastics take a very long time to biodegrade, hundreds of years at the minimum, maybe never. So all the plastic that humankind has ever created still exists. None of it's broken down. And in the sea it breaks down, it doesn't biodegrade, but it forms smaller and smaller particles which can be swallowed.
Which can be equally dangerous.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, it's pervasiveness and the difficulty of removing it from the environment once it's entered the environment.
So for people who are watching, it kind of seems common sense that if you go somewhere, whatever you're doing on a natural area, you would take your rubbish away and you wouldn't leave it.
Absolutely, and every single person can help to improve the situation in the marine environment by making sure that they do take their litter home. Most people are really responsible about that, but it is really important to put your stuff securely into a bin. And also maybe when you buy in products, to choose ones with less packaging in the first place, so that you're creating less rubbish to dispose of.
Because there are sometimes unfortunate things where you are trying to stop something, and if you're at the beach where it is windy, it escapes from you, and then when I'm out, sometimes I do try to pick things up because I think, oh, that shouldn't be there, and I see it and I take it away. But not everyone has either gloves or things to do that. But other people have the kind of opinion, oh, well, it's not mine, I'm going to leave it. But actually, it could have been something that accidentally was there.
Of course, and the coast's a windy place, and plastics particularly like to blow around in the wind. And things like that do happen, but just trying to pay a little bit more attention and do the right thing. There's also lots of initiatives around the coast run by charities like the Marine Conservation Society and Surfers Against Sewage, where they organise beach cleans, litter picks, like 5-minute litter picks. So every time you go to the beach, just spend 5 minutes.
People could do that.
Absolutely.
Now, just very, very briefly, because you're in fact Welsh, so Wales made a fantastic effort, and they were amazing last week, and they got to where they did. How do you feel about that now?
I feel really proud of them. The dragon rode very loudly, and yeah, I watched the games, and yeah, it was great to see them go so far. Very unexpected, but really fabulous to see them go so far.
Thanks very much, Louise.